Roger Goodell, as NFL commissioner, is leaving to become the new CEO of the PGA Tour, per Seth Wickersham and me. Goodell sent out a memo today to NFL team executives and presidents to notify them of Rolap's departure. Now, Rolap's hire still has to be approved, but he is expected to be introduced next week as the new CEO of the PGA Tour. As for the Cincinnati Bengals, they have a couple of prolonged holdouts here with pass rushers. Trey Hendrickson's not at mandatory minicamp. Shamar Stewart left mandatory minicamp. They're both looking for new deals that aren't coming their way at this point in time. Difficult situation for the Bengals to navigate right now. And obviously this will go on and take up some time during their summer break. This week they moved on from their former team captain, Jermaine Pratt-Cuttom, who's now signed a one-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. So he goes out to Las Vegas, a big boost to the Raiders linebackers. Pratt's a good player, somebody that the Bengals just could not afford to pay right now, and he found a home in Las Vegas. As for TJ Watt, also not at the Steelers' mandatory minicamp. Mike Tomlin said that is hopeful that both sides will be able to work out a long-term deal. It's what Watt wants. It's what the Steelers want. He's the heart and soul of that team. But his departure from mandatory minicamp at a time when Aaron Rodgers was coming in got some headlines, and this is something now Pittsburgh will have to address before training camp begins.
Interesting. Now, speaking of Pittsburgh, that's where we go next in our camp tour. Aaron Rodgers got the tent now, and this time it's got a Steelers logo on it with the campfire. He's out there. He said he's trying to be a servant leader for this team, helping however he can, and probably the best way to help, win games, but that comes later. For now, it's getting accustomed to that new team and all that. Here's his offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, thinking Rodgers still has a lot left in the tank.
Really look at in the last year. I mean, the guy's throwing the ball at an extremely high level. I mean, you talk about one of the greatest passers in the history of this game. I mean, not many guys have thrown the football like Aaron Rodgers. And obviously, he's still doing that at a high level. I believe he said something similar yesterday. You know, again, where you have a guy like I had Matt Ryan in his career. Matt, as a younger player, is a little bit different. You know, Aaron's, sure, the way he sees the game is different than he was when he was 25, but he's been in his, early 40s. But he's still throwing the ball at a high level.
Interesting to see how Arthur Smith creates this offense around Aaron Rodgers. Now, the Steelers have been looking for answers since Big Ben retired after the 2021 season. Since then, Pittsburgh's offense ranks 26th in points per game and yards per play. They're also struggling to punch it into the end zone with the fourth worst red zone efficiency, and their quarterbacks rank 20th in total QBR. Peter, how much confidence do you have in the Steelers this season now with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I've been very high on the Steelers the last few days. So high that today on First Take, I suggested they could be Super Bowl contenders, and Stephen A. Smith gave me a hug on air. I mean that. And the reason I say that is because they didn't make these moves to just get to where they were the last few years, which is a nice Saturday or Sunday afternoon wild card game and then get bounced out of the playoffs. They could have very easily done a half measure here. They could have signed another quarterback, or they could have gotten panicked when Rodgers wasn't there in April and May. Instead, they waited all this way, and they did trade a second-round pick and paid DK Metcalf $30 million. Those are not the moves of a team that's rebuilding. That's the moves of a team that sees things happening this year with a window. I'll really quickly say Arthur Smith, underrated offensive mind. When he got to Atlanta, it was the last year of Matt Ryan's career, and his quarterbacks since have been Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke, and then a collection of guys last year in Pittsburgh that were basically on one-year deals. I think there is a great, great possibility that this Pittsburgh offense is a lot different and a lot better than many are expecting it to be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree it could be better, but I myself don't have super high expectations, right? From what we've seen from Aaron Rodgers over the last couple of years, there's a lot of factors that went into that, and even what he was asked to do for the New York Jets in the locker room, in the organization, is a lot different with Mike Tomlin at the helm in Pittsburgh. But that being said, even with DK Metcalf coming in, a thing that they struggled with last year, one of their many struggles, was the fact they didn't have a solidified number 2 receiver. So it made it really hard to get the full, spectrum of George Pickens. We talked about it earlier. DK Metcalf right now could have a lot of the same issues. They don't have a solidified number 2. They have a lot of guys who are vying for playing time and vying for that role to be the guy. But for Aaron Rodgers, if safeties can play over the top of DK Metcalf, a receiver who's used to having Tyler Lockett on the other side, it could still be tough offensively.
Well, listen, right now, Hawk, they're expecting Calvin Austin to be their number 2 wide receiver opposite DK Metcalf. Let's not forget that they also have former second-round draft pick Roman Wilson coming back. And if Wilson turns out to be the player they thought he was when they drafted him in the second round out of Michigan, and they have Calvin Austin, who they believe in, they might have a better, deeper group of wide receivers than people realize and are expecting. But Super Bowl, Peter? Super Bowl? When you're in the same division as the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals? Super Bowl? When the Pittsburgh Steelers have lost their last 6 postseason games? Super Bowl? When Aaron Rodgers hasn't won a postseason game in over 1,600 days? That's a lot to ask. I'm not saying they can't do it. They're good. They're capable. But they have a lot to overcome to get there.
Adam Schefter just cut the hype video for when they make that run, man. Yeah, that's going to do numbers, Shefty.
That's on the America's team.
That means they made the run. That means they did the work. They did the work then.
Here's my point on that. Because I think I got trust me, I got crushed online, and I live in a house with a son who's a diehard Ravens fan. So trust me, I heard it from him too. I will say this:
he's not talking to you anymore.
They didn't make these moves without that sight.
Yeah.
They didn't make these moves to just be okay again. Like, they went for it. They swung the bat. So to me, the expectations are a Super Bowl.
Okay, Hawk, you haven't commented yet on what you think your expectations for the Steelers. Is Super Bowl too rich for you for the Steelers?
Oh, it's way too rich. As much as I love the organization and what they stand for, they do always go for it, Shrey, because they don't do rebuilds. They can win with bad quarterbacks, let alone one of the most talented ever. That doesn't necessarily mean they got the pieces to get it done.
Okay, as it relates to Rodgers, you guys, he'll look to get back to the postseason for the first time since 2021. Well, hey, we're back on NFL Live. We're bopping around some mini camps across the NFL. The next stop is in Jacksonville. Now, no doubt, you see Trevor Lawrence on the field. It's a big season for him. Pivotal chance. He gets to work with Liam Cohen. He's got an excellent track record with quarterbacks. They've surrounded him with improvements, too. Here's Trevor on the new offense.
I thought it was really good. Some good days, some days were a little sloppier, and that's part of it, especially a new system, a lot of new guys. Everyone's playing together kind of for the first time for a lot of us. So overall, I thought it was really good. I thought we learned a lot, took some really big steps of improvement throughout OTAs, and I'm proud of the guys, how they worked. Everyone worked their tail off all off season, really pushed ourselves. There's a lot of times where some people can kind of take it easy, and I felt like every day we really came out here, busted our ass, and really were intentional about what we were doing.
Well, Trevor Lawrence enters his 5th NFL season, looking to prove he's worth the Jaguars' investment. Lawrence, one of the top 5 highest-paid quarterbacks in the NFL, but is ranked 19th in total QBR over the last 2 seasons. The other 4 quarterbacks on the list all ranked top 8 in that category. Lawrence finished last season with 11 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in 10 starts. Hawk, what do you need to see from Lawrence in this new system to let you know that he's making a jump this season?
I need to see him back to his 2022 version of himself. They bring Liam Cohen in, right? And we saw the career year Baker Mayfield had under this system, heavy play action, rollouts, leveraging that athleticism, making decisions easier, giving them clear pictures, all in an effort to make sure Trevor Lawrence can unleash his full potential. Less thinking, playing fast, playing decisive. Because the issue is now Trevor Lawrence is on his 3rd head coach. And I don't even think it's about Trevor Lawrence showing us anything. It's about showing Liam Cohen. Yeah. Because if you don't see that promise, I don't know if that's a wagon he's going to hitch himself to for the next couple of years.
I look at the coaches too, but I look beyond Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen might have gotten this job because of what he got out of Baker and what he did with Tampa, but I look at a name, Grant Udinski, who is in the Minnesota quarterbacks room, and he's only 28 years old, and Grant Udinski was hired as the offensive coordinator of this team. I find it fascinating to see what these minds can do. There's Grant, 28 years old offensive coordinator in the NFL. They call him a brilliant mind, but gosh, you're telling me Liam's the head coach, first-year head coach. Grant Udinski's a first-year offensive coordinator. Spencer Whipple's 36. He's the quarterbacks coach. It's not only Trevor Lawrence, but it's a lot of these young forward-thinking minds, but with forward thinking might come a lack of experience. So whereas in the past, Trevor Lawrence has had Urban Meyer and Doug Peterson and a lot of these guys who have been there, done that, I kind of like the fact that the Jaguars said, let's rip it up, let's try it again, let's go somewhere fresh. I just got done in by, I was the mentalist, Adam, and I would tell you, in all of my years, I did not expect myself to say Draymond Green when I was asked to name an NBA player. I didn't think I'd be talking about Grant Udinsky on NFL Live, but that's where we're at.
Well, Peter, welcome to the world of ESPN, where you never know whether you're going to be talking about Draymond Green one day or Grant Udinsky the next day. And you talk about the brilliance of Grant Udinsky. And we mentioned Liam Cohen, who the Jaguars made a huge push to go hire. And the reason they went and hired him is because of the success that he had initially out in Los Angeles with the Rams, then with Baker Mayfield in Tampa. They recognized the effect that he could have on an offense. So if you're taking Grant Udinsky and you're matching it with Liam Cohen and you're putting these two guys with a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas, who had a sensational rookie year, and then trade up to get the offensive weapon, Travis Hunter, and you got a lot of different running backs. You've got a lot of weapons there. And I think this team is expecting to take a major leap on the offensive side of the football because of that offensive brain power that they've brought in this offseason.
Peter, how freaky was O's the Mentalist? That stuff, I'm like...
Freaky. I was blown away, and I just admired his complete cool of it. I've seen it on TV for years, Laura, and of course, Adam's seen it and Hawk's seen it. Total different ball game.
Draymond Green, let's go. All right, time now for some top stories. Adam, there's some news in the NFL league office.
Hãy móc xuống tiếp. Lần lượt cho mình chơi đến hết nhé. Rồi, mũi tiếp theo. Lần lượt cho mình ảnh được nhé. Rồi, mũi tiếp nữa này. Thêm một hàng màu hồng nữa nha, thêm một hàng màu hồng, đỡ thêm đen nhé. Rồi những mũi tiếp theo. Rồi móc vào, cứ lần lượt từng mũi là được. Mũi nữa này. Đấy, cứ làm mà luân phiên từng mũi một. Vẫn là màu hồng á, đây móc hết cái chuỗi này. Mình cứ thêm từng hàng để tăng cái độ dài cho cái áo. Thế nha mọi người. Mũi tiếp theo. Mũi tiếp nữa này. Làm lần lượt từng mũi một. Mũi nữa này. Rồi mũi tiếp. Đấy, cứ lần lượt như thế là được nhé. Tiếp nha mọi người. Rồi mũi tiếp theo này, móc nối được đây. Mũi tiếp theo. Tiếp tục móc xuống. Mũi tiếp theo nữa. Đấy, lần lượt cho đến hết nhé. Đây còn một khúc